Hey guys, welcome back to Vinceville Custom. So today, sort of an updated video continuation to Taboolicious Vanessa kit video that I did a while back. So when if you saw that video, I'll link it in the description. We talked about the kit, how it was sculpted, and the process of what we're doing to go to make it like a kit so people can buy a copy. So things have sort of evolved and changed since then. What's going to happen now is we're going to be doing the kit as a pre-paint, sort of like a Kickstarter type thing. I don't know all the details yet. We're still going through the process, but I just kind of wanted to give an update so that those that have been asking just kind of know what's going on. It is possible too that they may offer a kit as well as the pre-painted item. You know, maybe when they start the Kickstarter or whatever they do, those who are interested in maybe getting just a kit, you can contact them and see if that might be available. It's a possibility. I don't know. But from my end right now, what we're doing is we're just trying to get everything prepped to send out to ownage. So, as I said in the last video, when you have the original sculpt, you can, if you're sending it to like maybe someone who's just going to do garage kits in, you know, like the house or their garage, you could probably send them the original sculpt. But this is going all the way out to China, so if something happened in shipping or the package got lost or China got the items and they're broken, we have no way of really fixing it or replacing it. So the idea was we sent the original sculpt to somebody over in the States, in US. What they did is they made a master copy of the kit. So right now what you're looking at is 2 master copies of the kit. Now I have the original sculpt next to me. It's on the floor, but it's all packed up. These are just resin copies of it. So what I'm doing now on my end is one of these is going to get painted up to send to the factory so they can actually follow the coloring. The other one, what I'm doing is I'm fine-tuning to be copied for the mass production. So this one over here is going to be the painted version when I'm ready to start painting it. But right now what I'm doing on this one is I'm just kind of cleaning up and I'm getting it ready for like the factory to kind of mass produce it. Because if you see this head here, originally it was just a metal rod sticking out of it, as you can kind of see. Now if you take this head and you pop it into this body or to this body, if you're doing the swap out, the problem is this might break on you. And that's a bad design for, you know, going through mass producing them and people having to do it. So what I'm doing on this one is I dremeled out a hole in the neck and I put a big thick metal key here. So now what I have to do is on these pieces I dremeled out holes here, and I'm going to put A's in here, and I'm going to make it so like this is a perfectly good thick key system. So this way the factory can add a magnet here and add a magnet here. So this way you can swap the heads in and out for whichever torso you want on the body. What I'm also doing is I'm trying to clean up some of the areas around the arm. So like right here, this sort of had like a little bit of a gap, you know, because that's when you cut the item. So what I'm doing right now is I'm kind of filling in some of these areas. So on this one here, there was a little bit of a gap too. So now when you put this hand here, it's nice and flush. I just got to sand it down. So what I have to do is I have to take this item, I have to fine tune it, clean it up, I have to prime it, get it nice and smooth, get everything like, you know, just get it perfect. So this way when the factory gets it, they can make a mold of it and it's ready to go. This one over here, I don't really have to worry too much about making it look perfect in all the seams lines. This just is going to be a painted version of the factory needs to follow the color. So what we'll be doing is we're going to be sending both these kits when it's ready, the time to go. This one they copy off of it and they make them, and this one they have set up on the desk and they follow all the colors. I guess that's how we're going to do it. So I'm just going through the process now. Hopefully within another week or two, maybe I'll have everything kind of cleaned up, and at least the main kit here will be ready to be you know, copied, and then I could start focusing on the paint apps on that one. It's a little tricky, it's a lot of work, but I think once you get all this done and then send it out to the factory, they start the Kickstarter, then people who know how to paint or want to paint, maybe they can get themselves just a kit copy, and those who are really not into painting and they just want to put it on their shelf, they'll be able to get a painted version of it all done and set up. So that's where we're at with this so far. So hopefully in the next few days I could do some more updates, show you guys what I'm doing, how everything's getting set up. We're still talking to the factory, you know, getting all the details from there. And it's just a long process. This stuff doesn't get done overnight, especially going old school, sending it out to like ownage, whereas if it was like a 3D sculpt, you could just send the file to ownage, ownage prints it out, then they just start painting it up, and then you got to get in their queue for like a year or two before they can actually start getting them done, and then they get them out the door. So it's a little bit of a process, but that's where we're at. So you can see how everything's looking so far. I think what would happen though is like if I was to paint up the final one, or if I was to paint up any of them, I would definitely attach this leg, and this would be a solid piece. I wouldn't leave this magnetized, only because like right here, that's supposed to show like the skin from here. So this would probably be like attached, and then you just put this into the base like so. That's kind of like how it's going to work out. So that's kind of where we're at right now with the whole process. Just wanted to give a little bit of an update, and hopefully the next time we come back in this video, we'll have a lot more cleaned up, and maybe even some of it starting to be primed up. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm prepping up the paint master or prototype piece for paint this week. So the way this is working is I magnetized all these pieces and I set them up so this way when you send it out to the factory to match the production, they can put the pieces together, or they can separate them, or make life easier. So you can see this is just magnetized. I put a couple magnets in here, there's a couple magnets there, the torso's magnetized there, the head pops off with a little bit of a thin rod and all that. And then the same thing with this torso over here. We have magnets here, magnets there, and all that stuff. So everything is ready to go with that. This leg is separated only because what I'll probably do is as I paint this up, I'm going to glue this and attach it so the bottom legs are separated. But she still does come in and out of the base like so. Now what Taboo did is he sent me a bunch of reference art on how he wants to paint it up. So the thing is, if I was to paint it my way to match Taboo's artwork, the problem is the factory probably would never able to match it. It's kind of difficult because if you do a lot of like colors and blending and all this stuff, factory would probably never match it. So we have to go more simplified and make it like less colors, but still make it clean. So I have all that reference art in my folder on my computer screen, but for right now what I'm doing is I'm getting it prepped up. So things that I'm doing and I'm planning for the paint up make life easier is like, so this has a thin metal rod in here just for the prototype piece. The main piece has that bigger square rod that I set up, but this right here will go into a rod like that, so this way I can paint this piece up. I can actually hold it and paint it, and I can let it dry on its own. What I'm doing with the torsos and arms is like I have these like I have different types of rods and stuff, so what I'll do is like I could Dremel a hole into here, and what I could do is I can add a dab of glue and kind of glue it in. And then what I could do is I could paint up the arm, and then I could just pop this out and put it back. So it doesn't matter if like some of these pieces have mess ups and like looks ugly in this area here. As long as it's hidden when it's on the statue, it's fine. Plus, like I said, it's the paint master. As long as they follow the paint up, it doesn't matter what's going on. So you see these pieces pop off. And then what I'll do is I have like these threaded rods here, or I have like other types of rods. What I'll do is I could Dremel a hole here, and I could thread this in, and then I can have this set up like on a piece of wood as well, and I could paint this piece. So it all makes life easier if you get this prepped up in the beginning. I mean, you could paint all this stuff separate and just have it laying on the ground and send it out to them, but if you have it magnetized, the factory, I guess, can actually sit there and they can be like, okay, so alright, so this piece over here, I have to do that, and then they can put it back on a statue type thing. So at least that's far what I understand. All I know is pretty much usually on my end is you just pretty much paint up the prototype or the paint master, you send it out to the factory, and they match it all up. So that's where I'm at with this. So I'm going to be going into the garage this week. I'm going to start priming up all these pieces. I'm going to have it all set up on wood, get everything set up and ready to go. And then hopefully when we come back, we can start doing a little bit of paint work. I'm not really sure how far I'll go with it in the video. It might just be like I paint it up and then we show it what it looks like, and then basically get out to the factory and Taboo can take it from there. But I'll try to give you guys as much information and update as possible on how this is going and what it's going to look like. Okay, so here is the master copy that I've been cleaning up a little bit. So what I have done is, as I'm painting up the prototype version, I'm actually going to this piece too and cleaning up stuff here and there. So what happens is whenever you do traditional sculpting or even 3D printing, whenever you print it out or sculpt it and you make your copies of it, sometimes the molds maybe bend or warp a little bit and you get some seam lines, and or maybe like traditional sculpting you'll get some cracking, and that's kind of what happened on this piece. So when I was working on the painted version of this torso, what I saw was some cracking over here and some cracking here, And I went on to the original sculpt and it's cracking. So I guess when we made the master copy, there was a little bit of cracking here and here from the original sculpt. Now, that sort of happens from time to time, I guess, because what Roberto sculpted over in Brazil. He packed it up, he sent it out to me. I looked at it, I packed it up, and we sent it out to the master caster. So between all that back and forth, that must have cracked from the original sculpt, because I guess the way he sculpts is he did the torso and then he sculpted layers on top of it, and that was thin layers. So I fixed it up on the prototype that I'm painting, and I fix it up here now. So this way when we send this out to China, we don't have those layers and lines there anymore. One of the other things too is, as I was working on this, I realized that the piece was has a circular peg on here, right? And what happened is when I'm working on the painted piece, she turns in the base like this, and we don't want it to turn because then you get scraping here and there, and if you put her too far, you'll get nicks on the back of the leg. So I cut out that circular piece, and then what I did was put in a square rod, and I worked out a square hole here, as you can see. Hold on, we'll get a little square hole there. And then this way, when she goes into the base now, she doesn't turn. Now, I'm not sure how the factory is going to work that out. They might leave it where it's going to be cast up in resin, or maybe they will put a metal rod in there. We haven't all figured that out yet. I mean, this is all kind of a learning curve, and we'll go from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back, and what we'll do is we'll show the prototype paint that I am working on. We'll have a clean version on YouTube for now. If you go to my BitchStreet channel, what I'll do is I will upload a raw video, so this way you can see the topless version and there won't be any blackouts on the video, because YouTube is pretty much hitting my channel with keywords on a lot of my videos. So videos are getting demonetized for talking about, flesh, showing off like an item that's just being painted from the beginning to the end. I guess they count it as nudity. So a lot of my videos are getting hit and demonetized, and I don't know why, but it's becoming a mess. So I figured what we'll do is we'll do two videos. We'll have a clean one on YouTube, and we will have a raw one on BitchStreet for those that want to see what's going on. I don't mind showing this off and helping out Taboo and doing all the prototype work, but for my channel, I don't really want to get hit too much. So we're going to come back now with the prototype painted. I'll show that off, and then what I'll do is I'll end the video there for YouTube, but if you go to BitchStreet, you'll see the topless version, and you can see a little bit more details, and I'll show off some more stuff on there. So let's get all set up with the prototype paint up. Okay, so here she is. I've been working very hard on getting this done. I've also been working very closely with Taboo. I've been sending a lot of pictures back and forth. He's been giving me feedback. We've been working out some ideas on how the factory can actually, mimic what he wants done. Because I'll be honest, you could paint something up really amazing and really detailed, but the factory may not be able to copy it because, the way I paint or other painters paint, the factories may not be able to match it. So we're trying to give it, as a nice clean look as possible, but where the factory can actually match it. So that's kind of what we've been doing a lot. As right now, I think it's looking very clean, and it's definitely where he wants it to be. So other than that, if you're part of Taboo's Discord, I've been sending him a lot of pictures, so he's been actually showing off those in the Discord, so people actually who are part of it got a nice treat of what she looked like in the beginning and what she looks like now. So we'll leave that for the Discord people that got the nice little bonus on that. But you can see how I did up her face. I've been following Taboo's pictures for the hair. He's got like this kind of like brownish hair color with a little bit of mahogany look to it. So I followed that as much as I could. We went back and forth on the eyes when I was ready to do those, and he did a little bit of Photoshop work on how he wanted to look, so I kind of mimicked it as best as I could. Basically just ran with the skin tone, which is kind of like a good base skin tone, and then sort of a nice blending of a shade. That's kind of where we went with that. For her outfit, it's kind of like a bluish business suit with some like a little bit of a purplish tint to it. Not too much. Feels a little bit silky, like a satin look. So that's kind of what we were going for. Because you didn't want to go like black and actually, match the desk. You wanted to pop a little bit. So that's kind of what we went with that. Outfit's pretty much kind of like a little bit of an off-white, where the bra area in there is kind of like a pure white, so it kind of made a little bit of a difference. Now, as far as her stockings, I always find it's fun to paint up stockings, because the way I did this was I painted up all her skin tone first, even on the legs. I did all the skin tone on the top body as well as the low body. And then from there, what I did is I did transparencies over the legs, and that creates that stocking look. So you still have that hint of the skin, but you get that stocking look to it as well. Shoes are basically, you know, a gloss black. The desk is pretty much sculpted the way he wanted. He sent a reference pics to Roberto. Roberto sculpted it, and this is how the color was, and this is the way we painted it up. So on the desk, there's 2 pieces of paper, and then right here is a pencil case you can actually take off and move around. So as far as the pencil case, we went kind of with a wooden look for the factory to pretty much match up. That's kind of where we ran with that. And that's pretty much the prototype so far. Hopefully you guys like the way she's coming out. I'm not really sure how this is all going to work. Once Taboo has all the details on how this is going to be available, we'll probably come back with the 3rd update final video. This way I can send everybody to that direction and how he's going to do it. I kind of mentioned maybe he should do painted versions and maybe sell kits, but you know, like I said, I don't really know what's going on yet. I'm not really part of that. I'm just kind of like, you know, relaying the message to everybody. So if you're watching this on YouTube, this is where we're going to end the video so you guys get a little bit of an idea. If you want to go over to BitChute, I'm going to show the topless version on there and show a little bit more of what went on with it. So this way you guys get a better idea of how this kit is going to be and the way he actually does a lot of his artwork. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back if you're on BitChute.